Goodness gracious, Anthony, we're both back in our home studios after lots of days on the road. How you feeling?
How was your 37,000 hour delay?
It was great, but the good news was it only felt like 35,000 hours. All right, let's get this show started.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, everybody. Glenn Hausman here with the incredible Anthony Melchiori. Anthony, I am so depleted after having such a great time on the road, doing all those incredible live shows in Vegas, going to HoT&eacute North America, catching up with all of our industry friends again, and feeling like we are back at it. And let me tell you, boy, people were a little back at it in ways that I didn't expect. Woo!
There's one of the things I noticed when I was in Vegas yesterday for meetings. During the day, it seems normal. Everybody's having fun. Although it's getting a little earlier in the day, seeing drunk people walk through the lobby. But typically
carried home on bell carts.
typically later at night, like after dinner and a couple of drinks, you see the 20-year-olds on the luggage carts drunk, right?
Right.
I'm not expecting the middle-aged folks, men and women, to be on the luggage carts drunk. But the funniest thing that I've noticed is helping. Like usually you have the one sober friend that's helping somebody through the lobby. The funniest thing is when everybody's drunk and they're trying to help each other, and you're watching this. Literally, I sat on the couch in one of the lobbies, and I was just waiting for people to come through the revolving doors, going, "This is fun."
Yeah, for sure.
But Vegas is definitely back, buddy. How was Florida?
Florida was great. Other than the weather, it rained a whole lot while we were there. But I got to tell you, HoT&eacute North America was great. And for those of you who don't know what kind of event that is, it's about putting buyers and suppliers together in a matchmaking scenario. So if you need TVs, they pair you a guy with TVs. If you need this technology, they pair you with that. If you need some sort of blah, 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 they pair you with that type of person. But the cool thing was, Anthony, is everybody is feeling bullish. Everybody is feeling like we are back and headed in the right direction. And deals were getting done at this particular show. So it's great to see that we're all back. But the best part, Anthony, the best part of it all was, I'm telling you, man, I'm vibrating with love and light this morning because so many people came up to say thank you to me and to you for all that we did over this past year, being that guiding light to help people over the last year. It was so rewarding. I felt like you. I was tearing up most of the trip and feeling really emotional.
Yeah, it's listen, like I always say, I get more out of my career than I will ever bring to anyone. I mean, I am so fortunate. We're so fortunate and grateful, whether it be my TV career, my business career, or our podcasting career. It's just a blessing, and I'm so grateful for it. But I'm really glad that we're bringing people. I don't know if I told you this, but there were 4 young Indian American gentlemen that came over to me about 11 o'clock at night. They were going out. I was coming in, and they came over to me, and they said, "We love you." And I go, "I love you too." They're like, "Our parents made us watch your show to teach us the hotel business because they have limited service hotels that they grew up in." And they're like, we didn't have to go to hospitality school because our parents made me watch your show." I thought that was the best. I thought that was the best. And you know, when like you're standing there and they're ready to like, hey, let you go because they're very respectful of your time. And I'm just like hanging out with them, talking to them, asking them a lot of questions. And they're like, don't you have someplace to go? I'm like, no, not really, not right now. It was great. It was great.
Yeah. All right.
So I'm glad. It's great to have you back doing what you do, man.
Yeah, and I want to apologize to everybody for sounding so gravelly and coffee this morning. I think being 11 days on the road kind of wiped me out. I'm not used to all of that.
Well, I will tell you this: the difference between getting a business class seat that lays down and a business class seat that doesn't lay down is this face, because I look tired. I look tired, and that's just simply because I can't sleep in a chair that doesn't lay down. So it was but listen, we're making like these little problems big problems. They're great. They're great problems to have.
Oh, I'll tell you, speak about a great problem that I had. I was confronted with something that I didn't know how I was going to be able to handle while I was there. No, I'm always dealing with those, and I just try to ignore them. But no, this was even more sinister. The return of the buffet breakfast and the giant vat of eggs over there. I was like, so happy to see it, yet sad to see it. And yeah, we're back. I had 3 days of conference food, and I was grateful to be back at it, but I'm already tired of it.
Yeah, and I will tell you though that's great. And listen, buffets, bring them back. I don't really like buffets, but bring them back. Bring everything back. Let's say it's back to normal. But I will tell you this, and it's a shame. Where as an operation, and I've been in, I don't know, 7 hotels in the last couple of weeks. We're not ready for prime time.
Yep.
There are so many labor issues. There are so many service issues. And the 2 hotels that hosted me over the period of the last week or so have been fantastic. So I'm not talking about those hotels, but other hotels I've been in and out of, they have been very, very tough. When I was at Resorts World, they didn't host me, but they I think they did a really, really good job. And you can tell they're a little bit on the construction, but the managers, you can tell that the Resorts World, the service was great, but you can tell the managers are taking on a very big effort. Right. And you can tell, but they're not tired and that they're great, but you can just see it. You can just see the hours that people are putting on because you just don't have the FTEs, the full-time employees. It's definitely noticeable.
And we're hearing that absolutely everywhere across all strata of the industry. But Anthony, for today's show, I thought it would be fun if we kept it a little bit home, kept it a little bit local, right? You live in one of the outer boroughs. I live here on Long Island, and we're both proper on the actual.
You know where I live used to be part of Long Island.
Well, it still is geographically, just not.
Yeah. But it used to be. It used to be considered Long Island.
Yes.
In 1973, I think they changed that.
It's really funny because there are some people out there that don't realize that Brooklyn and Queens are actually part of the landmass known as Long Island, but colloquially it's known as Nassau and Suffolk County. And the woman who runs the Discover Long Island DMO, Kristen Reynolds, president and CEO over there. Welcome to the show. So excited to see you and talk about my home region.
So awesome. Love Long Island. And yes, we tell people if you've been to JFK, LaGuardia, you've technically been on Long Island. You don't cross a bridge, right? That's how you know it may not be part of the tax structure, but we definitely claim Brooklyn and Queens.
Well, I will thank you for us not being part of the tax structure.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
One of the reasons we didn't move to Long Island, and we moved to the area that we're in, not too far from JFK. Because we get the water, we get all the beaches, we get all of it. But our taxes actually were a third of what they are today. So in 15 years, they did a good job of raising all the taxes.
They do. And, I moved to Long Island. I'm a transplant. So you guys are natives, right? But I moved here 6 years ago from Arizona. So where the taxes are very low and it's a desert. I moved from the desert to the water. And I always call myself, unless you're born and raised, you're a transplant, no matter how long you've been here, right?
Right.
But the taxes, everyone talks about them. But you know what? I'll tell you what. I came from what I thought was a great school district in Scottsdale, Paradise Valley. And I came here in the schools. 70% of the taxes that Long Islanders pay go straight to the schools. And man, it shows. I have 2 daughters that are now consider themselves Long Islanders. And the schools here are just to die for. They're amazing.
Yeah, I will tell you that I hear that all the time. I have friends that are teachers out there. My wife's a teacher here in New York, and my kids went to New York City schools, and they were great schools too. But Long Island are very, very good, and they pay their teachers well.
We love our teachers. Teachers, you can't get a teaching job here because they're so coveted. So it's great.
Right, they're coveted because they're listen. Teachers deserve $1 million a year, but Long Island teachers are the best paid teachers in New York State. And they deserve it, and it shows. Listen, it shows what happens when you pay for talent.
Right. You get what you pay for.
Yeah, I don't know about you, Kristen. When we were moving, I grew up on Long Island. I grew up in Comac, lived in Manhattan and Brooklyn for 20 years, and came back here as my kids started to get a little bit bigger. And it's really interesting to see. I don't know what you did, but we just figured we'd try to find the best school district that we could afford, and then we just found a house in that particular area.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's funny, but real quick, Glenn, I think people just about Long Island. Before I moved here, I think most people not from Long Island really have no idea that it's made up of so many different areas. You see it on a map and it looks this big and it's called Long Island. I mean, when I moved here, I'll never forget, I left Arizona and I said, I'm going to go do tourism on Long Island. And my board of directors was like, what's there? And I said, they're like, no offense. I'm like, well, the Hamptons are on Long Island. And they're like, really? That's part of what you do? I said, people think the Hamptons are somewhere near the Cape or Martha's Vineyard, but people really have no idea that Long Island is made of 2 counties, 2 cities, 119 different towns, villages, hamlets. It's really a big place.
Well, you can find something to do on Long Island every day of the week, and it can be different. And one of the things one of the first shows we ever did, or the first show we ever did, was at Montauk, where it was Gurney's Inn. And when I was there, it was a blue collar kind of vacation that was getting kind of a little bit upper scale. But now, and this may not be good to say, but all the billionaires from the Hamptons pushed the millionaires up to Montauk. So now Montauk is unbelievable. My daughter she called me up. She goes, Dad, I want to go with my boyfriend up to Montauk for a couple of days. Do you know anyone? I said, well, I kind of know the GM at Gurney's Inn. And I said, but even with me knowing him, maybe he'll give me a $5 discount.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be about $800 a night. That you graduate college now, so it's I'm not paying for it.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Oh, okay. Maybe we'll just go for Coney Island for a day."
Yeah.
All right. So first, before we get into the Long Island stuff, I want to say Happy Canada Day to everybody up north over there. You're 103 years old today. Congratulations. We love that. Now, all right. So. We love our Canadian friends, but I love Long Island, Kristen. And one of the things that I think is people, like you were just saying, that people get confused about what's Long Island and what's not Long Island. I blame it all on Steven Spielberg. And you don't want to know why? Because of the movie Jaws. He created this Amity Island. They filmed it up in Massachusetts and all of these things, but it is actually a story based on Long Island. In fact, the shark hunter Quint is based on Frank Mundus, who was born in New Jersey, but was a Long Island fisherman out in Montauk and all of that kind of stuff. And all of that story that Peter Benchley wrote was based on Long Island. So we're more famous than people realize.
And Billy Joel songs, a lot of Billy Joel songs are based
Billy Joel, so popular. And it's funny, I was just in Port Washington, which is another one of the towns that's closer to the city. And I think that's interesting about Long Island is because of our proximity to New York City, we do a lot of movies and films, but then you go out to the East End where Montauk, where you are right now, beautiful lighthouses. And on the North Fork, vineyards, farms, farm stands. It's like a step back in time. It's very different. But I was in Port Washington and I just learned that the iconic house at the end of Miracle on 34th Street is a house in Port Washington.
Oh, cool.
The one that she dreamed about, the Santa Claus, couldn't get her. And it's truly the suburban ideal of everybody because it's got all the urban amenities in New York City, but this incredible suburban lifestyle.
And also we have to mention the Amityville Horror.
Yes.
When I was a teenager, we used to jump in the car and drive to go to the house and go look at that house, which I think is gone.
My dad, who passed away when I was a baby, he's buried out there, and so every year I pass that area and I think of that house and I get scared, Glenn.
It's scary.
I have never not once watched 1 minute of a scary movie.
What?
Scary movies? I don't get the appeal.
Never once.
Especially ones that are based on a true story. That's really scary.
Yeah, I refuse to watch scary movies. I've never watched any of them. Not for a second. I just want. My friend Leo Rossi, my best friend, he was in Halloween 2, and he's iconic. He's an iconic character in that movie. And he goes, why would you watch it? I know him for 18 years. I go, I will never watch it.
He was in Halloween 2?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. Halloween is one of my favorite movies of all time because of what they were able to achieve on such a low budget. We're not really talking about
Or maybe he was in Halloween. He was in one of those.
You know who else he talks about Long Island all the time that I've listened to since the beginning of Sirius Radio is Howard Stern. I actually got Sirius Radio. Back then it was XM just to listen to Howard Stern. Mm-hmm. And I always knew he talked about Roosevelt, growing up in Roosevelt, and his wife has the North Shore Animal League. And I would hear these things. But until I came here and lived here, I'm like, oh my God, these are right here on Long Island. All the stories they tell, the bagels and the bagel boxes.
Long Island's one of those areas that is very, very, very unique. You can literally spend a week in Long Island and not know what state you're in and think you're in a different state. You'll think you're in Montana, or you'll think you're in New York State or New Jersey or wherever, or California. It really has, whether it have beautiful farms or, like you said, vineyards, and it also has urban areas. It's really one of those interesting places that it really takes all of what's great in America and puts it in one little area. It really does.
That's a perfect way to say it, Anthony. You're totally right. And it's because we've got so many different towns and villages and hamlets. It's got this very, the further away you go from the city, it can be very urban, closer to the city in Brooklyn and Queens and that. But the further you go away, it's really this like mosaic of main streets. Each little downtown has its own main street.
Absolutely. And the reason I said so perfectly is because Glenn, every morning we have 1 hour session of him teaching me how to speak. And it's starting to pay off. It's starting to pay off, Glenn.
I'm sure we do that every single morning. That's great. All right, so Kristen, that is true because there is a lot of confusion about Long Island, and growing up on Long Island in particular, it's really weird because it never occurred to me to ever vacation on Long Island. This is, of course, before Discover Long Island and your arrival here to wake Long Island up. But it's interesting how many great resources we have in natural resources, entertainment, absolutely everything at our fingertips, but we don't necessarily take advantage.
Fire Island is literally 20 minutes away from where I live to drive to the parking lot, and then I get on a ferry. I did not go to Fire Island until I did a show on Fire Island. And Fire Island is literally a stone's throw from my house, and I've never been there up until, and I haven't been back because I've been busy. But it's unbelievable how beautiful and crazy. You know who lives on Fire Island? I don't know if I can say this, but I'm sure if I know, everybody knows. Barbara Corcoran.
Oh, wow. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Also, Fire Island, what I love about it is it's really a beach town. No cars are allowed in almost all of the Fire Island areas, which makes it so unique and so special.
It's one of the greatest places on earth, I think. I'd never been there. And Fire Island, again, it's a barrier island that runs the whole bottom, the south shore of Long Island. And you have to take a ferry to get there. It's car free. But even Fire Island is made up of 17 different distinct communities. So there's sections that are great for families, Ocean Beach, Kismet. And then it's also sections that like Cherry Grove and the Pines, which are LGBTQ meccas. And even those communities.
Going back from like the time I was a kid, back before LGBT issues really came to the fore and people were accepted, that was their place for the sanctuary. And it's such a great atmosphere out there.
Yep. And we just did a whole segment on it in one of our promotion, one of our podcasts, because in fact, people would go there in the 70s, LGBTQ community, because you couldn't get there by car. And so they could go there and be left alone. And then back then we were talking about, it was still illegal to sell alcohol to homosexuals during that time. They couldn't dance together.
I remember the dancing.
So they would go to Fire Island where they could just be free. But even on Fire Island, like there's Cherry Grove, which is crazy. And there's like drag queen shows and nudity. It's awesome. And then you go to the Pines, and the Pines is very upper echelon. They're like, none of that nonsense here. It's very quiet. Everyone has a 6-pack and a small dog.
That's where Andy Cohen has a house.
Right. It's amazing. It's truly amazing.
But yeah, listen, it's funny as you're talking. As a New Yorker, I'm getting more excited about Long Island. But what are the challenges? First of all, who are you going after? Are you going after that traveler that's coming to New York, that goes to New York City? Like I love Rockaway, and I always try to get New Yorkers that are staying in New York to come out to Rockaway. Or are you just really going after, really targeted the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut market?
So it's a great question, Anthony. I think the reason why no one knows about Long Island really is the biggest challenge is that for a destination marketing organization, especially, we're a $6.3 billion tourism industry here. People spend a lot of money. That's more than most major cities across America.
Wow.
But we only spend $3 million a year marketing Long Island. Wow. $3 million for everything we just talked about.
Well, that 6-point-something billion is usually spent all in 2 restaurants in Hampton.
At Gurney's. Yeah, it's confusing. So our biggest challenge is, and I think there's a couple of reasons for that. I think that Long Islanders, if you ever read The Power Broker, which is required reading for all of Long Islanders, which is about Robert Moses and how he opened up the public parks and beaches to people from New York City, because Long Islanders have always liked to kind of keep Long Island for ourselves.
Right.
So the waterfront isn't as accessible. Like I came from, I was used to going to San Diego, and you just go to the beach and it's free and it's right there and you can see it. Here it's very protected and the beaches are for the residents. And so it's funny, one of the big talking points in our industry for DMOs is always like, That $6.3 billion saves every household on Long Island $1,000 a year in taxes.
Wow.
And elsewhere across the country, like when I came from Phoenix, people loved that. They were like, $1,000 a year, that we love tourism. I came here and I said that, and Long Islanders were like, is that it? Where do I write my check? That's like bottle service.
I mean,
right.
To be fair, we're paying property taxes over here, $15,000-$16,000 or more. Of course, there's less too, but it's not unusual to see those kinds of numbers.
I have a friend that has a nice house that would be in my area, would be a very nice house, but nothing extraordinary. And he's paying $32,000 a year.
Right.
Yeah, that's common in the neighborhood I live in. It's anywhere from $20,000 to sometimes upwards of $50,000. So again, it goes to the schools, and that's great, but that talking point doesn't work. Like Long Islanders, they don't always understand the benefits of visitation. So we started having, when I came here, that talking point didn't work. So to talk to them about the importance of tourism, what we started talking about is what Long Islanders want is we want our communities to be sustainable for our kids. We want our kids to be able to live here, right, and to make it, a place where people want to be, and we don't want our kids leaving constantly. So, branding, creating a brand for a place and making it cool and exciting and all the things we've just been talking about, that's kind of what we do. And that's how Long Islanders make the connection of creating a place where people want to live and work and visit and just be. So we talk much more about our quality of life than we do just visitors. But to your point, so when I first came here, we hadn't done any research about who our client was, who our visitor was. And when we did the research, it initially said our key visitor comes from the Northeast market, tri-state area. But I kind of feel like that's because that's the only people we've ever spoken to. Like when I bring my friends and relatives that came out from Arizona, they love it. It's such an incredible beach destination. The seasons are different. This would be perfect for, so we started expanding. In other words, we started expanding to Philadelphia.
Right.
People in Philly, this great drive market, Boston.
It's like two and a half hours away. It's pretty
DC,
close.
they go to Rehoboth mostly, but Long Island is really a new, it's like an unexamined destination for almost everyone.
I mean, look how gorgeous this is. This is the Montauk Lighthouse at the very tipping point of Long Island. And usually I go to Gosman's, go get myself some seafood, fight with some angry seagulls, and then I go over here for sunset.
Have you ever been to Bird on the Roof?
What's that?
Bird on the Roof. Have you ever heard? There's a breakfast place called Bird on the Roof.
Yeah.
My wife's family owns it, and it's a great little kind of sawdust kind of place, egg place. It's unbelievable. But that lighthouse is amazing. I've been there. It's is it the only operating lighthouse in Long Island?
No, there's the Fire Island Lighthouse. There are several lighthouses, but it is that lighthouse that's standing behind you. And again, it's at the very tip. They call it the end because it's the very end of Montauk. Was commissioned by George Washington.
Wow.
And it's only 4 lighthouses in the country that are still on the National Register. There's actually a great story, and we did a Long Island TV segment on our YouTube show about it, about this little old lady, Georgina Reed, who single-handedly saved the Montauk Lighthouse because it was about to fall into the ocean. It was 55 feet from falling in, and everyone had given up on it. But she had patented this reed system, and she, for 15 years, every week she went out and planted plants and reeds that have saved and solidified the bank of the Long. It's amazing.
Are you
It's a really great story. Yeah.
That's unbelievable. Isn't that great about our job in tourism, and now you're doing a podcast entertainment? Isn't it great that how much you learn?
Yeah.
It's every time you turn around, it's a different story.
And Anthony, people come from all over the world to see that Montauk Lighthouse. But to answer your question about our proximity to New York City and how we capitalize on that, we really do connect Long Island to New York City for the international visitor. Most people from domestically, if you're going to the city, you're wanting to do Broadway. There's so much to do there; it's hard to pull them away.
Right.
But the international visitor, whose itinerary is typically 14 days, right? So we started calling ourselves New York City's beachfront backyard, and it allows New York City to compete with the Miamis and the LAs of the world, to have that beach experience.
Right, and that's the thing. It's really difficult because there's such great art and museums and shows in New York City, but we have incredible culture here too, and it really goes forgotten because we're so close to some of the best in the world. But our botanical gardens are amazing. We have incredible theaters that bring out A-list acts.
Have you guys ever been to a show at Jones Beach Theater?
Oh, Come on, you kidding?
Best place.
What are you talking about over
If
here?
you're watching this and you have not been to Jones Beach Theater, it should be on every single person's bucket list because it's one of the most beautiful waterfront theaters in the world.
Bring up a picture of that because it is absolutely.
It's great. I went out there. My wife's a big Jimmy Buffett fan, and we went out there a couple of times to see Jimmy Buffett. He comes every summer. And
the last time I was with your wife and daughters, but you weren't there. I don't know.
Oh, that's right. Was it at Jones Beach?
Yeah, it was at Jones Beach.
I was traveling, and my wife, through Glenn. I know the Margaritaville people, and he hooked me up with some tickets, and I couldn't go, so I had my kids go and my wife go, and they were sitting right behind or in front of Glenn.
Yeah, it was really funny.
That's funny.
They may have said there was some kind of weird smell coming from Glenn, but that's okay.
It is so cool. And when you're up top, every seat is amazing. In fact, it's one of the few theaters that the higher you go, I think the better your seat actually is, because then you're overlooking the water and all the boats come up to watch the concert. And it's just, there are so many magical places and there's so much history. One other thing interesting, our national park, we have one national park here on Long Island, and it's called, there's Jones Beach Theater.
Right.
That's amazing.
How awesome is that?
Look at that.
Yeah.
But another funny, like you were saying, things we learn. Sagamore Hill was the year-round home of Teddy Roosevelt, President Roosevelt.
Right. And
it was in Oyster Bay. It's in a gorgeous neighborhood. It's beautiful, but the nickname of it is called the Summer White House, and that's because prior to him being president, Washington D.C. would close in the summer. The government would shut down because Washington was so hot; they didn't have air conditioning. And when he was the president, he came back to his home on Oyster Bay for the summer, and it was when the telephone was invented. Right. So he would go down to the local drugstore, and he was able to talk on the phone and keep the government running during the summer for the first time in history.
That's pretty amazing, and also amazing that they didn't just put a phone in his place. He had to go to the drugstore.
Yeah,
I don't understand. Why don't they just use a cell phone?
Right.
So I think hard for us to understand these days.
For those of you out there who don't know Long Island, that area, I guess, is part of the Gold Coast and stuff like that. You probably know from the Great Gatsby and all of that. There's a lot of wealth that came out of the different cities, and they all built these magnificent homes on the North Shore of Long Island.
The Vanderbilts, the Guggenheims, all of those still exist. And
and the Vanderbilt Mansion, they built an amazing planetarium over there that has traditionally been one of the most sophisticated planetariums regarding technology in all of the world. But it's so close to the Hayden Planetarium in New York City. All of these incredible things is almost forgotten about because it's so close to New York City.
I can't think of a major real estate player that I know that runs New York, or even a big finance person that doesn't have a house on Long Island. I mean, everybody does. I mean, Glenn has what? You have 4 houses there. You know, you're a power broker.
Well, I got this one house and a couple of tents out back here.
But you know what? Maybe she can start marketing your house. Does she know the name of your house?
No, she does not know. The broadcast comes live every day from the Houseman Resort Pool Club and Smokehouse. She is unaware.
That's funny. Yep. Yeah, it's a great place to live. And listen, if you can get a house here, cheers.
What's been your biggest challenge? Anytime someone comes from a different place, especially that you weren't raised in New York, you come. You know, internally you're dealing with things because people are like, oh, who's this outsider, right? And then you're like, you said, there's not a lot of marketing going on, a lot of research going on of who our client is. So what was the first, I always like from a business perspective to really, because you're doing a great job and you're obviously acclimated and you're respected, but those first 90 days or 6 months, what was that like?
You know, Anthony, you could do a total case study on our organization, because when I first came here, it was called the Long Island Convention and Visitors Bureau and Sports Commission, and it had
off the tongue.
Yeah, really great marketing, and it had a very colorful history. It's ridden with scandal and ineffectiveness, and so people had a definite negative perception of this organization. It was about to be dissolved.
Wow.
Both counties. I met with the county executives right when I came here, and they said, you know, yeah, we don't like your organization. We just want to promote Nassau County, and we just want to promote Suffolk County. And that's still a current challenge today, is trying to teach Long Islanders that the brand is Long Island. Right. Because when this county's paying a certain amount and this county's paying a certain amount, it goes into a pot. They're like, but I want you to talk about my county. And then you get in the county and they're like, I want you to talk about my town.
Right. Of
and
course.
then the Hamptons is like, you should talk about not just and then it gets even worse. Like, it's not just Southampton. You know, we used to talk about Southampton Village,
Right.
which is different than the town of Southampton. So that's honestly the biggest challenge, is educating people that have lived here for generations. Long Islanders are generational families here. You don't get a lot of transplants that come here unless they're coming from, like you said, the city. So people have lived here their whole lives for generations. We're very proud and very protective of Long Island. But to try and get people to pull back the lens and say, on a global level, we're not even on the grid. Like, people, we're not being able to compete. You have to compete. You can't just kind of, and I think New York feels like that as a whole. Like, New Yorkers feel like, hey, we're New York. You know, people will always just come here. We're lucky.
The best thing is when you say where you're from and they go, I'm from New York. Oh, yeah, where? Buffalo. No, you're not.
Right. So you make a great point with there, but the other side of the equation is getting out that messaging to customers is kind of confusing. Orlando's the theme park capital of the world. Las Vegas is the party capital of the world. New Orleans has got great food and culture and music, et cetera, et cetera. I almost feel like Long Island has an embarrassment of riches,
right,
and all sorts of different things that it must be hard for you to create a coherent and cogent marketing message in a simple way that people could understand.
And to your point, you know, when you think of Long Island, if you're a New Yorker, you think of the Hamptons. If you're outside of New York, you think of the Hamptons, but you don't think of Long Island.
Right.
Correct. People don't know that the Hamptons are here. Most people have no idea that we have incredible award-winning vineyards, like 6 different vineyards. No, and great wine, and they're so beautiful. It's just a wonderful destination, and the history. You're right. It's still a challenge. There's so much to talk about. Someone talking about the breweries, you know, the distilleries, so many great things, and you know, but you have to kind of hone in on what is that thing. What is your hero? You know, and it's the Hamptons. It's our beaches. It's our vineyards. That's what other destinations that have great shopping, great history, they don't have those things, right? So
it's a little overwhelming because there are so many great little towns and communities that even as a New Yorker, I'm overwhelmed by it because I don't really know where to go. And I mean, I'm literally probably 30 minutes from where you're sitting right now, and I don't know where to go when I go to Long Island. When my wife and her friend were going there a couple of years ago, now they do it annually. They went to the vineyards, and they were asking me, where do I go? And I'm like, I don't know.
Well, and you're right. And it is. And if you go to our website, there's so much content. So, you know, COVID actually changed a lot of the things that we do.
Right.
And it's really transitioned us to, I think, be a better resource to talk about those unique nuances and those small villages and things that make up of Long Island. Because initially it was just trying to put Long Island on the map because we just weren't out there at all. No one was even talking about Long Island when you said it. Maybe they know. We actually did a perception study, a national study to show what people think about it. And Long Island had great name recognition when you said it, but then the next layer, what do you know about it? Little to nothing. Most people knew about Long Island medium and Long Island iced tea. You know, and that's really all they know.
Don't forget about that.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, exactly. So every now and then a celebrity, but so we had a lot of work to do just to say Long Island and to rebrand. We rebranded to Discover Long Island a year to the day of me coming here. We changed all the logo. We made it clean. The wave, you know, talks about the beaches. But during COVID, you know, we weren't welcoming anyone. There was a travel ban. Long Island was the epicenter, second only to New York City for COVID. We really locked down hard, and people were calling the police if they saw a Connecticut license plate in in the aquarium parking lot. So we had to completely change our strategy and help our local businesses and our downtown survive. And it's actually been one of the best things that we've ever done because we launched all this new content. So we launched a podcast called Long Island Tea.
Hold on. Let's segue to that. Kristen, isn't the sign behind you missing the word ice between islands?
I know. So it's a play on Long Island iced tea, which people know us for. And then it's also where we spill the tea on what it's like to live, work, and be. And it's different. It's not like a DMO podcast where we get on and we talk about industry things or things to see and do on Long Island. We made it more of edutainment, entertainment. So it's myself and our COO, and I'm a transplant, and she's a native Long Islander. She's got the accent. And she lives on the South Shore, and I'm on the North Shore.
This is what I put names on our stuff today. Hold on. Where does it say? Oh, my name's not coming up. Hold on.
Oh, did you do the pronunciations?
I did. Here, Long Island.
Long Island. That's how you do it. Long Island.
Long Island.
Long Island. Yeah, where do you
So,
live? Long Island. Long
yeah.
Island.
So we started storytelling, and we created a new YouTube show as well called Long Island TV. And again, the real reason we did that is because when we started to reopen in the phases, it wasn't enough. Our businesses were finally able to reopen, and people were still scared to go out because they didn't know, were they following protocol and procedures? Were people wearing masks? What did it look like? So we brought a video producer in house, a whole new department, and we started going out with these videos. And now it's transitioned into just great content where you can see and touch and feel all the unique. We were just the one that launches tomorrow is about Fire Island. So you get to spend a day on Fire Island and see it and meet the people there.
Yeah.
So how do you go about getting more money for advertising? $3 million is not a lot of money.
It's not a lot of money. So we the bed tax here, when you go to stay at a hotel, it's usually double digits. The bed tax on Long Island is the only Long Island tax that's low. It's 3%. It's crazy. So we talked about raising that, but you know what? I personally think the future of destination marketing organizations needs to privatize. The more we're tied to government, then whoever's in office tells you, well, this is my favorite attraction, or this is what I want to spend money on, and it becomes politicized.
Right.
Yeah, but if you do it that way, don't the bigger fish, the bigger restaurants, the bigger hotel chains, basically monetize that department, and basically they buy all the advertising, and they basically own, they own it.
It can be, yes. So I think the diversified funding comes from different places. You don't just completely go like an agency. One of the things, we actually just got legislation introduced in New York State this past year during COVID, which was amazing, to establish what's called tourism improvement districts. It works just like a business improvement district. But instead of, when you pay a bed tax, having that go to the government, it should be an assessment that goes all the way back, and every dollar per like a bid statute has to go back to supporting the businesses that are contributing to that tax.
That's great. That's great. So right now the bed tax just goes into this big fund.
Yeah.
And if I'm a local person collecting that, a bed and breakfast or what have you, I may never see a penny of that.
Right. Not only that, Kristen, I think you were having some challenges. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we were in when we were at that recent Long Island Hospitality Association planning meeting together. I think you said that some of the politicians are trying to move some of those funds to other stuff, right?
Listen, it's always a risk. Whenever, and it's it's not the big bad politicians. It's that they need money for things like education and public safety and sewage, and and they don't not everybody is born understanding the value of marketing or tourism marketing, and it can be a really difficult dot to connect, that we market tourism because people are going to come here, our hotels are slammed, we're busy, so it can be difficult. So I think right now, of the 3%, 75% goes straight to the general fund. They distribute it, and in one of our counties, a portion of it goes to each county legislator, that they get to promote cultural things in their district. So you'll see movies in the park brought to you by legislator X. So it's anytime it's politicized, it's politicized.
Yes,
and so
right.
I think, privatizing it in a way that is a tourism improvement district, to your point, Anthony, so it's county or it's destination wide, and you get to promote the destination as a whole. But also, I do think that we should make a more of an agency shift for the pay to play, because I can't tell you how many times someone will sign up a restaurant and be like, here's my $300 membership for the year. Now, what have you done for me lately? And act like I'm their own marketing organization, for the entire year.
Listen, the New York City Convention Center, I mean, when we were a hotel, when I ran hotels there, we would send these checks, and every day I had friends on the board, and they would tell me, it's like I can't go to a meeting because everybody's like, what are you doing for my hotel? What are you doing for my hotel? They don't understand that it's the whole process of building this organization for the good of New York City. So and I think that'll be forever, right? That'll never go away. One of the things we did at the Algonquin Hotel, I was so overwhelmed by the history of the hotel. Every single second I turned around, they were like, did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? And I was like, no, I didn't know all this history. So we put a card at the front desk that said, did you know? One of the things I would love to see in Long Island is a card. Like if I went on the website or I went into a store, it could be complete in Montauk, it could be somewhere else. do you know? And then really kind of what 20 things do I need to know about Long Island that are completely separate from each, 20 different towns. Like that to me is fascinating. Like the story you just told me about that young lady or older woman who saved the lighthouse. Like I would literally go and try to find out where she lived just to see her house, because that stuff fascinates me. I'm a history guy, so I love that stuff. I've been chasing Customato's house upstate because he was the trainer for Mike Tyson. Every year I go up there, I can't find his house, but but I find farms, and by looking at this for his house, I find 100 other things, and that's kind of really kind of motivates me to know other information.
It's a great idea. Yeah. And it's true. And I think we do a lot of that in the storytelling and the content building. It's hard because again, so one of the things we just did again during COVID is we launched what's called the Downtown Deals Travel Pass. Okay. So it's a mobile pass. It acts like an app. You go to discoverlongisland.com/deals. And like, that's how I was in Port Washington. We just added Port Washington. We're adding Fire Island today, Ocean Beach. But you go because if you're coming from the city, if you're coming from somewhere, do you want to drive 45 minutes and hope to discover something, or you kind of know what they have to offer? So it tells you the downtown, it tells you a list of things to do. So in Port Washington, you can rent kayaks, you can go to this great, Louis restaurant on the water. There's a hotel, there's Sands Point Theater, which is a mansion. There's a million things to do. And then it gives you a discount. That business gives us an exclusive discount that you can redeem touchlessly and incentivizes you to go. But it's just letting people know what's in each downtown. The did you know are endless. We
love going canoeing every single year here. But Anthony, this is for you right here. That's Customato's house right there.
Yeah, I know what it looks like. I can't find it. It's another thing, like the Mike Tyson gym where he started. Like you go in there, it's over a police station, and it's a dank old kind of rundown gym, and there's no marketing to that gym. So anyway, I'm just fascinated by destination marketing, and it's difficult. It's really, really, really difficult for all the reasons you just said. And one of the things I always say, Anthony, and you'll appreciate this, I think, from a tourism. So it is difficult because every single person thinks that they're your boss, because everyone's a marketing expert, and then everyone loves travel. Everyone's been on a trip. So I always say when I go to parties, it'll be like, my new husband, and I want to thank you because I got married at Gurney's and it was amazing. I think it was nothing like when you went to the show. It's completely different. How long ago did you get married?
April.
Hey, congratulations. Yeah, listen, I had nothing to do with that. They sold it, and you guys came in with, I think, $600 trillion.
Yes.
And completely gutted the place.
It's incredible. Props to Gurney's. It was the best. I keep hearing it was the best wedding ever. But
wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. But the thing is that people think you're your boss. So we'll go to a party with my husband, and he's a cloud architect, right? People are like, oh, what do you do for a living? He'll say, I'm a cloud architect. Oh, cool. Kristen, what do you do? I promote tourism to Long Island. You know what you should do?
Oh, God.
That's the first thing everyone always says when you do destination marketing is, oh, you know what you should do?
Yeah, it's like when you have a TV show, the first thing they say is, I thought of that idea. You stole my idea. And I'm like, no, I didn't, because ideas in your mind mean nothing.
Yeah. So my idea that I recently saw on TikTok, and I was like, this was my idea, but someone actually did it, was that they go around, and I think it's a lot of on Long Island, kind of your point, and they knock on mansions and they say, what do you do for a living? Yeah. I love your house. Yeah. What do you do for a living? Or they'll stop people in parking lots in fancy cars.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that guy started a trend.
Yeah. Like, what do you do for a living? I need to know this.
Yeah, I love. There was one lady, old lady. She must have been like 80, and she was in like this ridiculous sports car, and I don't know if it was set up, but it was just like, it almost felt like it was a setup. And hey, what do you do for a living? And she just turns to him and goes, I'm a drug dealer. And then the windows go up, and then she takes off.
Yeah. I saw that one. You're like, okay, that one. Yes, I don't want to do that. So but, it is a challenge, but it's something I love to do. I feel honored to have a destination like Long Island. That's our biggest challenge, our biggest opportunity is there's truly endless things to talk about.
And one other thing, Glenn, I'm sorry. What I love about Long Island and destinations like that is you have people who had some disposable income, they retired early, and they went and they bought a bed and breakfast. And then this beautiful bed and breakfast, and it's gorgeous. And they put their money and their time and all their creative juices into this beautiful bed and breakfast. And you ask them, it's like, so how do you like it? It's like, I love it. So do you work harder now than you did when you ran this big company? And they're like, oh my God, I've never worked harder in my life. It's like, so you go out to Long Island, open this 3-room bed and breakfast, and you're working 95 hours a week.
Right.
It really, making Long Island quaint and making these towns quaint, whether it be a bread shop, whether it be a little restaurant, whether it be an Airbnb, whether it be a bed and breakfast, there's so much energy and work and love that goes into those places from these people. And that's one of the reasons I really think Long Island's such an incredible place, because you're dealing with people. A lot of these people that own these businesses could go to New York City, maybe have worked in New York City, but they're coming to Long Island and they're giving you the best of them, and they're literally putting their soul into their business.
Yeah, the people of Long Island, I've said that since I moved here, again, being a transplant, I love not just Long Island, but I love Long Islanders. We're truly a unique community, because it's almost, again, it feels like kind of going back in time. There's this old school chivalry. People open the door for each other. When a Long Islander says, I'm going to be there for you. Like, I come from Scottsdale and it was a lot of air kisses. But then when you actually need something or somebody, Long Islanders and New Yorkers probably, they're really true to the grit people. But they're also like, we did a podcast on the Long Island tea called, the F word, because the F word is kind of a part of our culture.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked to some famous Long Islanders, like Dee Snider was a guest from Twisted Sister, because he raised his
wow. Yeah.
and he's so funny. And he's actually just like this great, super calm guy. And
he's like really super, super calm.
Oh, he's amazing. And his kids went to the same school as mine, and everybody knows D and Free Village. We talk about the F word and there's an accent, and that's okay. I love the Long Island accent. When I'm at the bagel shop and people like, hey, the bowl, or the, wherever you say I'm online. Yeah. I'm not in line.
And you're also on Long Island, not
you're on Long Island.
Yeah.
I was traveling this week, and there were 3 people that were serving us at this beautiful steakhouse, the one steakhouse at the Virgin Hotel in Vegas. And there was 3 different, and one guy comes over to me and go, Bensonhurst. He goes, yes. Another guy comes over, I go, Long Island. He goes, yes. Another guy comes over, I go, Queens? He goes, yes.
Yeah.
It's very distinct.
You'll see people like Mark Ergang, my friend Mark Ergang's on here, and he was like, we don't have an accent. And I love it when Long Islanders say that. We don't have an accent. I'm like,
well, we don't.
Yeah. I love Mark, who's listening right now.
Yeah.
That he says Long Islanders don't have the accent. His accent makes mine sound like I'm from Arizona.
Yeah, but that's okay, because you know what? In our business, so much of the world is homogenized, right? And that's what makes us unique, is when you go someplace and it has a distinct sound or feel or culture. That's why we travel, so it doesn't sound just like where we came from, and we can embrace that.
And when you do business, it's very interesting dealing with people in different states. When your whole team's from New York or New Yorkers, because there's somebody on my team that's not she's a transplant. She went back to Oklahoma, but she's got the New York vibe, and it's just interesting doing business with other states. Right. It's just different. I
love it. I'll tell you, when I would come from Arizona, everyone's like, I think you do a speech or you have an event, everyone's like, that was so amazing, you're so great. And then afterwards you hear like maybe they had some critiques here. They'll be like, yeah, it was really good. You went a little too long. You need to tighten it up a little bit.
Right. And like maybe your Brooklyn accent, maybe you need to kind of like tone it down a little bit. But it's funny. I work with a young lady who's from the South, and she doesn't like cursing. So immediately when we first started working together, I realized, I said, you don't like when I use foul language. She goes, I'd rather you not. So I really try hard not to. And I said, what do you do when you want to tell somebody to go F themselves? And she says, oh, that's easy. We just say, bless your heart.
Bless your heart. I was going to say, that's a Southern thing, which is almost worse, because it's passive aggressive. I'd rather someone just tell me than
Right. The entire South is passive aggressive.
Right. Exactly. Kristen, I get accused all the time of being too direct, which is the strangest thing ever.
You?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're so nice, Glenn, but I love it. I really think that Long Islanders, when you see us portrayed in the movie, a lot of it, yes, is stereotypical, but when you go to the local pizza place and it's Sal and Tony, I was at the ice cream thing. My dad's in town from Arizona. We went to the ice cream window in Port Jefferson last night, and
Nice.
the cop came in and said, "Hey, is Tony or Gina here?" I was going to say hi. And I'm like, there's got to be a Tony or a Gina here.
There's a
I
Tony
don't even know if it's the same one. I'm sure there's a
Tony
Tony
right there.
and a Gina.
I was surprised that everybody turned around and said, "Yeah, I'm right here."
Yeah.
You know what?
But it's
One of
just
the
great.
things when people, because I am a very nice person, but I'm also very direct, and I just like to get to the next thing. It's kind of, even when I was teaching service, when I'm training service, I tell my team, since I'm a young manager in this business, is the quicker you solve the problem or prevent the problem, the quicker you get to lunch. Right?
Yeah.
That if you're constantly arguing with a guest, if you're constantly questioning a guest, if you're not understanding a guest, just the Marines say, I just want to get to lunch.
Right.
And so I don't think of it that way because I rarely ever have lunch when I'm working. But my point being is, like, just New York is just, let's solve it and get it over with. Let's go. I don't like anything I just did a to-do list, right? Now, I just did a really quick to-do list that I have to do today that I didn't do yesterday. And it irritates me because I should have done that yesterday. New Yorkers don't like carrying stuff over. They want things done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And usually, but then there's also a lot of things on Long Island in particular, which take so much more time than they should take because of, I think because it's so fractured in all these little towns and villages, there's things called civic organizations, and the locals are very, very vocal about anything being done.
Right.
So we still have one newspaper called Newsday here, which every person on Long Island reads. I have a copy of it right here. And people read it every day religiously. And if it didn't happen in Newsday, it didn't happen. Like they
Really?
Oh,
Because that used to be the Post and Daily News in New York, but that doesn't exist anymore, really. I mean, it does, but nobody reads them.
It's because you've got this guy who his family started HBO, that bought Newsday because he loved it because he's a Long Islander, wants to thrive. So it's just, you've got somebody with that kind of dollars behind it. There's a local TV station called News 12 that everyone's cable box is defaulted to. So anytime you turn your TV on, it comes up and it's on a loop all day long.
Right.
And
if you guys out there have your own version of that, we were first. So haha. Just so
What do you mean you were first? You were first.
News 12 was the first hyper local news station.
Hyper local. That's a Long Island word.
Right. And then they took over. Then that idea kind of went away. You got
do you watch News 12? Do you watch News 12, Glenn?
From time to time.
Well, they're hyper local. I like that.
Yeah.
Hyper local.
Kristen,
yeah.
I'm going to say we're starting to run out of time.
Yeah.
But there's one issue that I need to talk about that's super, super important. Do you know Adam Burke over at LA Tourism? He runs LA Tourism over there.
I don't. I think is he new? Is he the new director?
He's been there for a little while, but
okay.
The situation that I'm having with him, he does not get that we have the best pizza and bagels and Chinese food. So I'm hoping
that whole thing
on this.
That whole thing where LA came out and said they had the best bagel, that was there's a great Instagram called Long Island Wise Guy. And if you want to know the stereotypical, he's hilarious and he's got a great following and he makes fun of Long Islanders in a tongue-in-cheek way. And he just could not, the fact that LA came out and said that they have the best bagels is laughable.
Thank you.
And it's the water. It's the water, Glenn. It's the
No, you mean the water. You mean the water.
It's all about the water that makes the bagels.
Yeah, somebody just told me their state has the best pizza, and it was a ridiculous state. I was like, "What?" It's you have the best pizza. It's there are some things in the world you can't say. You can't say Nathan's hot dog from Coney Island, not Nathan's hot dog you buy somewhere else, but in Coney Island isn't the best hot dog. You can't say Katz's pastrami sandwich isn't the best pastrami sandwich. You can't say Brooklyn pizza or New York bagels, meaning Long Island or anywhere in New York, is not the best. You just can't say it.
The pizza bagels. I had a lobster roll last night on the waterfront at Danford's. Let me tell you, and I had a lobster roll in Fire Island too. The lobster rolls coming. It's fabulous.
I got to hit a clam shack. I haven't done that yet this summer.
Glenn, let me ask you a question about Montauk. What do you call it? Lunch or lobster roll?
Lobster roll.
Lobster roll. You know what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Anthony?
What's lunch?
So when you drive out to Montauk, there's a famous restaurant, and the sign says lunch, and it was made famous in that show, The Affair.
Yeah.
They owned it as a whole thing. Everybody goes there. It's the place. But Long Islanders know, even though the sign says lunch, you call it the lobster roll.
Yep.
So
But they call it lunch, like some people call lobster roll lunch.
no, the name of the restaurant says lunch.
I understand.
Right.
I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah. Also, they've got that big duck out east. If
The
you
big
want,
duck.
giant big duck.
You know, when you said something, and I just want to kind of underscore it because it really is starting. It's kind of what I'm dealing with right now in some areas of my business. Is I just like to get to the point. And Long Islanders and New Yorkers, we just get to the point, and then we can hug and kiss.
That's
but
right.
let's not get to the point. And that's if you, why is New York or Long Island or any part of New York different than any part of the world? Is we just get to the point a lot faster than anyone else.
That's why everyone gets angry at me for being direct, Anthony, because everyone wants to do all the dancing and stuff like that.
When people say, Anthony, you're very direct, it's like my superpower. I love being direct.
Right.
Well, I want to say one thing before I want to say one thing. Speaking of getting to the point and being a New Yorker, you can tell I'm acclimated now, right? So I just jump right in. Our Long Island Tea podcast, and it's where we spill the tea. That's why it's a play on the iced tea, but it's tea. The tea is the gossip. It's really like a Kathy Lee and HoT&. We drink wine every episode because it's sponsored by Long Island Wine Country. So we drink a bottle of wine and we tell you about it, and we just tell stories. It's not an in-your-face kind of thing. Please subscribe and take a listen, and you'll learn all about Long Island.
Hey, can we go out there and do the podcast and drink wine?
Yeah, we've got to do that. And also, yeah, Kristen, we should get you on the Friday night show. We should do a Long Island.
I know. I thought that. I was like, Glenn, is this the show where you guys drink?
Yeah. We'll get you on that one soon. And I want to be fair to Adam Burke over at LA Tourism. He will be on the show again in July, and he could defend his ridiculous position about pizza and bagels. So we are fair. We've here, but you know.
Did you know that Franklin, Tennessee came out 2 years ago and said that they were the home of the Long Island iced tea.
Oh.
And that Long Island iced tea is supposed to be made with whiskey or bourbon or something. I'm like, let it go.
Where is the home of the Long Island iced tea?
It's Long Island. It's the Nautical Mile, actually. It depends on who you talk to. It's all hearsay, but the Nautical Mile in Freeport is where you get the original Long Island.
You know, I just want to welcome you to Long Island. I know you've been there a while now because you've done three things. One, you talked over us, which is great, which I really, really respect. You said, Glenn, listen to me. I know I saw it and you didn't invite me. All right. And so welcome.
Thank you. I found my home. My counterpart in New York City, Fred Dixon, always says, look, I'm not from New York, but I got here as quick as I could.
Right. And Kristen, one other compliment for you. Usually we end by giving everyone the opportunity for a shameless plug. Boom. You were right in there. You didn't even have to.
LongIsland.com.
All right. Thank you so much, Kristen. Any final thought that you have before we wrap up for today?
No, I just invite everyone to kind of listen to our content because there is so much to learn and do about Long Island. It's truly, if you have not been here, you're missing out.
New York is not dead. Long Island's not dead.
Right?
I thought it was dying. What happened?
Can't get a house right now.
Talk about that for a second. Oh my God.
6 hours. Boom.
Right.
It's right. You can go in. A house is $800,000, and an hour later, somebody made an offer for $2 million.
Yeah. And listen, and they'll pay the tax. They're like, taxes, fine.
Yeah.
I'll pay it.
You know what? It's interest rates are low, and people you can't find a house. A friend of mine was looking. He stopped looking. He was like, I can't find one.
Where else can you be by the greatest beach in the country, according to Dr. Beach, the greatest water, incredible history. You jump on a train, you go to New York City for a dinner for the day, come back, and it's beautiful suburban environment. There's no place like it in the world.
Not to compete with you, but have you been to the Rockaway Hotel in the Rockaways?
No.
Have you heard about it?
No. I've heard of the Rockaways.
Do me a favor.
Okay. I'm writing it down.
Right? I'm going to support Long Island. You're going to support Rockaway.
Okay.
Take one day during the week. Don't take a weekend because the weekends get crazy. 7.1 million people came to the Rockaways last year, or 2019. 7.1 million people came to the Rockaways in 2019. So don't come on a Saturday because you'll lose your mind. But come on a Wednesday, stay at the Rockaway Hotel. Tell them Anthony sent you, and it will blow your mind.
Done. Deal. I know of it mostly from the Ramones.
Yeah, rock. And what's her name? Smith. Patty Smith lives here.
Smith.
She has a condo, not a condo, but a little house. What is that called? A bungalow. She has a bungalow right near the Rockaway Hotel, and the ferry is literally down the block, and it's 45 minutes to downtown New York. So you should check it out.
Will do. And we'll have to come back again and talk all about even just Long Island music, like you said, Joan Jett, the whole alternative radio started on Long Island. That's a whole other. It's amazing.
LIR. You got to go check.
Yeah.
I think there's a documentary being made.
There's a documentary about it that you can watch. Yeah. Mariah Carey, everybody.
Hey, Debbie Gibson.
Debbie Gibson, Ashanti,
Long Beach.
Yep. All right, we got to wrap this up.
Yeah, we could do this all day. You guys are amazing. Thank you for welcoming me into your New York community. I do feel like a New Yorker at heart, and it's a great destination. I invite everyone to come.
Listen, keep drinking that wine and using the F word, and you're always welcome.
Yeah, but seriously, let's plan a show where we could all do it together on location somewhere, showing off some majestic, incredible background.
I want to do the F word show. I want to be able to drop the F word like anytime I want.
Oh yeah. Okay, we'll do it.
All right. Take care. Have a great holiday weekend. Enjoy.
You too. Bye, guys.
Bye.
That was a great fucking show.
Oh, so much fun.
Is she laughing in the green room?
Yeah, she's totally laughing. She's nodding her head. All right, everybody. Have a great holiday weekend. This was absolutely fantastic.
Holiday weekend?
Yeah, man. Happy birthday, America. So, yay.
God. Is it really July? Dude, really? Literally, just July 4th this weekend. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I know. Producer Suzanne is showing up her colors, her American colors backstage, which is great.
And Suzanne just is officially at her new job down at Indian River State College. Congratulations, and look forward to seeing you there soon.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Have a happy holiday weekend. And remember, I know a lot of you are going to be outside all summer. That's why you got to listen to the audio version of their podcast where you're hanging out by the pool while you're enjoying a great Long Island Beach restaurant or music facility. You can find it at Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, everywhere you like to get your shows.
Hey, Glenn, have you ever been to the Nathan's hot dog eating contest?
I haven't actually been in person, but I do plan to watch it at noon on ESPN on July 4th.
It's back. I've been there 3 or 4 times. My daughter, when she was a little baby, wanted to go. Yep. And we get there at 7 a.m. This is the secret. If anybody wants to go at 7 a.m. and don't get into the pit. Don't sit or stand in the pit where they line up the tables. Don't do that.
Right.
Because you'll get spit on, and plus you can't really sit. You can only stand. You want to be on the fire hydrant on a corner of Surf and where is it, Stillwell, right in front of Nathan's. Put your chair there at 7 a.m. You'll be the only person there. And about 11 o'clock, you turn around and there's 50 billion people behind you. Right.
All right. I'm getting asked about tomorrow night's show. We are off tomorrow night. We were going to do a show tomorrow night, but I'm just like, I'm done. I can't do anymore, especially a drinking show after being in Vegas for 5 days and at an industry conference. But we will be back very soon with that show next Friday night.
You've complained a lot about traveling this week. Like, you've been dying to travel. You got what you want, and you still complain. You're like a teenage kid. When you're a teenager, you get what you want, then you complain anyway.
First of all, I wouldn't be a good Jew if I didn't complain about everything. So it's a religious thing. So now you can't say anything negative about it. Sorry.
I can't touch that. But you listen, man, you got to be grateful that you're out there and you're growing.
I am. I absolutely am.
Exhausted and you're exhausted.
I do think that tomorrow night will be a little bit too much for me, which is why I told Craig we're going to take off. We also think that everybody's going to be out and about tomorrow night.
You know what, Glenn? I'm not going to hire you as a front desk agent at a New York City hotel.
Okay.
I just don't think you have the stamina, buddy.
I don't. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week with another series of amazing shows. Thanks so much for being here. Remember, everybody, you've only got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
See you all next week.